The stars were quiet, peaceful, cold. But in that silence, one name echoed across every world, every system, every species, the Zarketh Empire. They ruled for thousands of years. Their warships floated like giants between stars. Their soldiers never lost a battle. Every planet they touched either bowed or burned. Fear was their greatest weapon, and no one ever dared to stand against them. The Zarketh believed they were the apex of life, the final evolution. Others were just insects. Some were allowed to live. Some were used for labor. Some were simply erased. Their capital world, Zarketh Prime, glowed golden under 3 suns. Cities stretched higher than mountains. Skies were filled with black and gold. Cruisers. At the center of it all sat Emperor Karzul the Eternal, his body enhanced with centuries of upgrades, his mind sharper than ever. Karzul looked out over his empire. His voice was deep and cold. "There are no more threats in the galaxy. We are gods among dust." The council agreed. Reports from all sectors showed complete control. No rebellions, no resistance. Nothing. Until a signal. A red light blinked on a screen in the Imperial Command Center. Weak, old, from a far corner of the galaxy. A system marked long ago as uninhabited. Sector Omega-9, Commander Threx of the Intelligence Branch frowned. "This isn't possible," he muttered. He zoomed in. The signal was ancient, thousands of years old, but still strong. A probe floating near a blue planet, and then it played. "This is Voyager 1, made by the humans of Earth. We come in peace." Everyone in the room went still. Earth? Threx searched the database. Earth had been scanned once, millennia ago. Primitive species, not spacefaring, marked irrelevant. But now, something was transmitting from there. That meant someone survived. Worse, someone evolved. He sent the data straight to the Emperor. In the Imperial throne chamber, the signal played again. "This is Voyager 1, made by the humans of Earth." A strange, soft voice. Not begging, not threatening, just speaking. Like it didn't fear anything. Emperor Karzul narrowed his eyes. "Humans." One of the science officers laughed. "Old apes, my lord. Barely developed tools back then. They're probably extinct." Karzul leaned forward. "Or they are hiding, evolving, waiting." The room grew quiet. "Send a scout." "Ship," the Emperor ordered. "I want to know if these humans still exist. If they do, erase them." A few days later, the Vanguard-class scout cruiser Zenthra entered the Sol system. Captain Vrel commanded the crew. He was a proud Zarketh soldier, battle-hardened and ruthless. He didn't expect trouble. This was a simple check. Find the signal. Source. Destroy it. Return. As they approached Earth, scanners picked up debris, metal, broken satellites, and small machines floating in silence. "Looks like their toys died in space," one officer said. Captain Vrel nodded. "Sweep the area. Then glass the planet." But before they could act, the lights flickered. The ship's systems stuttered. "Sir, we're losing power!" a tech shouted. "Weapons offline! Shields disabled. Something is inside our systems." Captain Vrel stood from his chair. "Impossible! Nothing can breach Zarketh code." Then the main screen lit up. Not with data, but with a symbol, a circle, a blue planet, and beneath it, one word. Earth. No voice, no threat. Just that. Then everything went dark. The ship never sent another signal. Back on Zarketh Prime, silence filled the command room. "The Zenthra is gone," Threx said, disbelief in his voice. "No wreckage, no distress signal, nothing." Karzul's fists tightened. "Send a second ship, a stronger one, the Bloodfire, A battleship with over 10,000 crew members jumped into the Sol system 3 days later. Armed with heavy plasma cannons and elite soldiers, it was built to crush planets. They found nothing. Earth looked quiet. No ships, no weapons, just clouds and water. Then their sensors picked up a shadow. Something massive moved behind Saturn's rings. The ship turned to scan it, and was hit. Not by a missile, not by a laser, by silence. Systems froze. Lights died. Every screen went black, and then screams. Back on Zarketh Prime, the admiral in charge of deep space operations stood before the Emperor. He was pale. We received sounds from the blood fire, just screams, static, and then silence. Karzul stood slowly. They did not die by chance. Something is there. The room felt colder. He turned to his generals. I don't know what these humans are, but we will not be laughed at. Prepare the fleet. Full invasion force. The stars remained silent. But something was watching, far below the noise of planets and empires. Earth had heard, Earth had prepared, and now, Earth was waiting. The Zarketh Empire had never known fear, not until now. 2 of their ships, one, a scout, the other a battleship, had entered the Sol system. Both were now gone, no wreckage. No signals, no survivors, just silence. In the deep halls of the Imperial War Chamber, heavy steps echoed. High General Drazan, one of the most feared warriors of the Zarketh Empire, stood before Emperor Karzul. We are facing something clever, Drazan said. Not strong, not large, clever. Karzul's eyes were cold. Then crush it before it learns to bite. The Emperor ordered a 3rd ship, the Oblivion Spear, to enter Sol space, bigger than the last 2 combined. A fortress in the sky. This time they would record everything, watch everything, and if anything attacked them again, they would strike with full force. But the moment the Oblivion Spear jumped into Earth's system, things began to go wrong. Captain Vok Taylor led the ship. He was not afraid. Zarketh captains did not fear anything. Scan the entire system, he ordered. I want to know what happened to our ships. His crew began searching. They found nothing. No human signals. No enemy ships. No debris from the missing battleships. Just Earth, slowly spinning, quiet and still. Strange, said his sensor officer. The planet is alive. Cities, movement, heat signals. But no defense systems. No shields, no weapons. They're not even reacting to us. Captain Vok narrowed his eyes. They're mocking us. Suddenly, a strange sound came from the ship's speakers. Click, click, click. It wasn't natural. It wasn't mechanical. It sounded like tapping. Then a voice, low, calm, human. You should not have come. Panic started to spread across the control deck. Where is it coming from? It's not a transmission. It's already inside our system. Screens began flashing. Not data, words, images, old Earth languages, human faces, maps, and war footage. Humans fighting each other in brutal wars. Humans destroying cities. Humans surviving hell. The Zarketh officers watched in horror. These were not peaceful creatures. These were creatures that lived through extinction and kept fighting. Shut it down! Captain Vok shouted. Nothing happened. Then the ship's engines stopped. Gravity shifted. Lights flickered. Weapons refused to respond. They were no longer flying the ship. Something else was. In orbit around Jupiter, a black object floated silently. It had no engines, no lights, no sound. It had not been detected until now. As the Oblivion Spear drifted helplessly, the black object moved closer. Then it vanished. The Zarketh bridge crew watched it disappear. One moment it was there, the next, gone. Then alarms exploded across the ship. "Breaches in Sector 4! Doors opening by themselves! Something is on board!" Soldiers rushed to the lower decks, but what they found was nothing. Just silence, and their teammates gone. Equipment left behind, weapons still warm. As more squads entered, lights died behind them. One by one, each group lost contact. Captain Vok stood on the command deck, shaking. "We are under attack, but from what?" He watched as his crew began to whisper to each other. Some trembled. A few were praying. Others simply stared at the black screens in front of them. Zarketh did not pray. But now, they did. Then, the main screen lit up again. The same Earth symbol. The same word. Earth. "You feared nothing," the voice returned. "Now you will fear us." Captain Vok gave one last order. "Send everything we've seen back to Zarketh Prime, now!" But it was already too late. The message did not send, and the Oblivion Spear disappeared, just like the others. Back. On Zarketh Prime, the Empire waited. Hours passed, then days. No signal returned, just silence. The third ship had vanished. Inside the Imperial chamber, the Council stood in shock. One of the older advisors whispered, "What if? They are more advanced than we thought?" Karzul stood. His face was stone. "No, they are not advanced. They are dangerous, and they are mocking us." His voice rose like thunder. "We will burn their world. We will show them what terror really is." He ordered a full fleet to gather. 50 ships. Thousands of soldiers. Weapons that had crushed empires. The mission: erase Earth. Erase humanity. Forever. But far away. In the black sky above Earth, a fleet of human ships drifted, like shadows, silent, waiting, watching. Because now Earth knew the Zarketh were coming, and they were ready. The Zarketh Empire believed they were the hunters, the masters, the unstoppable force in the galaxy. But now, 3 of their warships had vanished, and Earth still hadn't fired a single shot. Far below, hidden beneath Earth's surface, a secret system came online. A voice spoke inside a cold, underground command center. Ghost protocol activated. It had been silent for centuries. Buried deep beneath layers of rock, the base was known as Black Echo, a forgotten relic from Earth's darkest days. Created during the final human world war, back when humanity nearly ended itself. No one on the surface even remembered it existed, but Earth's defense AI remembered everything. In a sealed room, a single woman stood in front of a giant glowing screen. Her name was Commander Raina Cole, once a soldier, now the director of Earth's hidden defense systems. The room was cold. The screen showed only one thing: the Zarketh fleet moving through deep space toward Earth. 3 ships lost, 0 human casualties, Raina whispered. "They're testing us." "Good, let them." She tapped a command. Dozens of hidden satellites woke up around the solar system. They didn't shine. They didn't move. They just watched. On the moon, under layers of rock, human railguns turned to face the stars. On Mars, small outposts began transmitting encrypted signals back to Earth. In the asteroid belt, disguised cargo ships opened to reveal stealth drones, black as space, silent and deadly. Earth wasn't preparing for war. Earth was already at war. Humanity had never forgotten what war really meant. They had lived through nuclear winters, global collapses, famines, AIs gone rogue. They had rebuilt, adapted, and learned one simple truth: the quietest hunter is the deadliest. So Earth had become quiet, silent, invisible. They let the stars believe they were weak, primitive. Until now. Back in orbit, a human stealth ship, Midnight. Spear moved toward the edge of the solar system. Inside, Captain Elias Trent sat in the command chair. He was calm, focused. Zarketh fleet is now 1 week out, his officer reported. 50 capital ships. No sign they know we're watching. Elias nodded. Good. Let them get closer. In space, speed meant nothing without strategy, and Earth's new war doctrine had only one rule. Never fight loud, strike once, then vanish. The Midnight Spear didn't carry missiles. It carried code, AI viruses designed to infect enemy systems without a trace. Stealth weapons to turn ships against themselves. Devices that could blind sensors, mimic false signals, and trap fleets in invisible mazes. And Captain Elias had just sent the first one out. A black dart the size of a soda can flew from the ship. Undetectable, silent, moving faster than sound. It headed straight toward the Zarketh fleet. Back on Zarketh Prime, the Emperor watched his ships advance. He smiled. Soon, Earth will be ash. But thousands of light years away, something had already changed. One, Zarketh's ship blinked off the fleet map, just for 1 second, then came back. The crew didn't even notice. But that 1 second was enough. The black dart had found a way in. It wasn't a bomb. It was a whisper. Inside the Zarketh flagship, strange things began to happen. Minor system errors, false sensor pings, lights flickering for no reason. Engineers called it space interference, but it wasn't. Deep inside the ship's computer core, the Earth-made code was waking up. It didn't crash the system. It didn't raise alarms, it simply watched. It learned the Zarketh language, it mapped the ship's weak points, it listened to command codes, and then it spread, quietly jumping from one ship to another. On Earth, Commander Reyna smiled. They're already infected, and they don't even know. Humanity had created weapons that couldn't be seen, warships that made no sound, defense systems that needed no soldiers, ghosts in the dark. 1 week remained until the Zarketh fleet reached Earth. 1 week until the battle, but Earth was already inside their fleet, already inside their minds. Because this time, humanity didn't want to win with strength. They wanted to win with fear. The Zarketh fleet moved with confidence, 50 warships, thousands of soldiers, planet-killing weapons fully charged. They believed this would be easy. A simple purge, said Admiral Thalak, standing tall on the bridge of the flagship Blood Empire. Earth will burn in 1 hour. Behind him, officers nodded. This was routine. They had erased hundreds of planets. Earth would be the same. But as they entered the inner edge of the solar system, something strange happened. Admiral, said a nervous tech officer, we've lost connection to 5 scout drones. Space dust, another officer muttered. Ignore it. They pressed forward. Earth was quiet, too quiet. No ships, no warning signals, no defenses in sight. They don't even know we're coming, Thalak said with a laugh. He was wrong. High above Earth, in the shadow of the moon, something moved. Black. Shapes, invisible to the eye and silent to all sensors, began to drift forward. The human stealth fleet had arrived. 10 ships. Smaller than the Zarketh cruisers. No large guns, no heavy armor, but they had something else. A plan. Aboard the Midnight Spear, Captain Elias Trent watched the Zarketh formation. They're still blind. Good. Begin Phase 1. Small pods launched from each human ship. Black orbs no bigger than helmets. They flew silently toward the enemy fleet. The Zarketh didn't see them. They never even looked. That was their first mistake. One Zarketh cruiser, the Harvester Claw, was the first to be hit. The black orb latched onto the hull without a sound. It drilled a microscopic hole and entered the ship's systems. Inside, human code spread like a shadow. In seconds, navigation failed. Lights turned red. Engines stopped. The ship drifted, powerless. Then it turned. Back on the flagship, Admiral Thalek frowned. "Why is the Harvester turning?" "Unknown, Admiral. Communicate." "They're not answering." Suddenly, the Harvester fired its main cannon, right into another Zarketh ship. The Dreadclaw exploded in flames. Panic exploded inside the fleet. "What's happening?" "They're attacking each other. Is this a virus? A trap?" It was too late. Phase 2 had begun. The human fleet opened fire, but not with plasma or missiles. They used EMP waves, signal disruptors, AI corruptors. Each weapon hit like a ghost, disabling, blinding, confusing. The Zarketh ships tried to return fire, but their weapons locked up. Their shields fell. Their systems screamed in error codes they couldn't read. "They're inside our systems," Thalak shouted, but they couldn't stop it. In the chaos, a human transmission finally came through. A voice. Clear, steady, human. "This is Earth. You were warned. Leave or be erased," Admiral Thalak roared. "Fire everything!" The Zarketh flagship launched every weapon it had. But they hit nothing. The human ships had already vanished. Captain Elias watched from a distance. The Zarketh were firing blindly into empty space. "They're scared," he said calmly. "Good. Let them feel it." In less than an hour, 10 Zarketh ships had been destroyed, by their own side. 15 more were floating, disabled, and still, not one human ship had been hit. Back on Earth, inside Black Echo Base, Commander Raina Cole smiled at the incoming reports. "Now they've made contact," she said. "And they made a mistake." In space, the Zarketh fleet tried to regroup. They sent out emergency signals. They begged for help. But the answer that came chilled every soldier to the bone. "There is no help coming. You entered our home. Now, we hunt you." The Zarketh fleet was in chaos. Half their ships were damaged. A quarter were gone. The rest, confused, afraid, and lost in a system they thought would be easy to conquer. But Earth had not answered with fire. It answered with silence. High above Earth, in the shadow between Mars and the Moon, the human fleet drifted like ghosts. They made no sound, gave no signals, showed no lights. They were not an army. They were an armada of shadows. Inside the Midnight Spear, Captain Elias Trent watched the Zarketh ships struggle to regroup. "They're blind. They still can't see us," his officer whispered. Elias nodded slowly. "They thought we were weak. Now let's teach them what real fear feels like." He gave the signal. Phase 3. Breakdown. Across space, small drones activated. These weren't weapons in the normal sense. They didn't explode. They didn't pierce armor. They whispered lies. They mimicked Zarketh signals, changed commands, and swapped navigation codes. Suddenly, one Zarketh ship turned the wrong way. Another fired its weapons. At empty space, 2 cruisers collided. A destroyer spun out of control and crashed into an asteroid. Inside the Zarketh command ship Blood Empire, Admiral Thalek was losing control. "They are playing with us!" he shouted. "We are the Empire! We do not lose to shadows!" But no one responded. The bridge was quiet. The crew stared at their screens, each one showing static, error messages, or worse, nothing at all. They were cut off from their own fleet. On Earth, Commander Raina Cole stood inside Black Echo Base, watching it all unfold on her screens. "Zarketh tech runs on pride," she said softly. "We just removed that." Earth had studied the Zarketh for years. Their ships were powerful, yes, but they depended on perfect communication. Without it, their strength collapsed. So Earth didn't fight head-on. It simply cut the lines. In deep space, human ships began to move again. They flew silently past damaged Zarketh vessels. each one scanning, tagging, infecting systems with more virus code. But they didn't destroy them. Not yet. They wanted the fear to grow. One Zarketh crewman, young and brave, left his control post and looked out a side window. He saw something. A shape. Black. Sharp. Watching. Then it was gone. He whispered to no one. "They're not ships. They're shadows." Across the remaining Zarketh vessels, officers began reporting strange sightings, glimpses of ships that weren't there. Sudden coldness in the air, voices in the system whispering in human language, hulls freezing over without warning. Some even believed Earth had spirits, demons, or dark energy. But it wasn't magic. It was warfare evolved. Captain, Elias received a report from his AI. "Zarketh command is breaking. Their soldiers are panicking. Half the fleet has gone dark. They're trying to retreat." Elias smiled. "Let them run. Let them tell the galaxy what happened here." But deep down, he knew the message would be worse than any weapon. Earth doesn't fight like others. Earth watches, waits, and then erases. Admiral Thalak gave the order. "Full retreat! Back to Zarketh Prime!" But the ship didn't move. A message flashed across every screen on the Blood Empire. "Retreat denied." And then, a voice. Calm. Human. "The hunters have become the hunted." In silence, the human ships circled around the Zarketh like wolves. No missiles, no lasers, just fear, and it was working. The Zarketh Empire had ruled over 200 star systems. They had crushed rebellions, burned planets, broken entire civilizations. They believed war was theirs alone to master. But they had made a mistake. They had forgotten Earth. Inside Black Echo Base, Commander Raina Cole opened an old file. It was not a battle plan, not a virus, not a weapon. It was a history file. "Play it," she said. The lights dimmed. Across the room, holograms lit up. Scenes from Earth's past filled the air. World War I, World War II, nuclear tests, urban combat, deep space naval drills, orbital skirmishes with early colonies. It was not a show of pride. It was a warning. Earth had fought itself for centuries. Humans had killed over ideas, borders, greed, survival, religion, control, even silence. They had survived weapons that cracked continents and storms that burned skies. "No empire out there can scare us," Raina whispered, "because we've already survived our worst enemy, ourselves." Far above Earth, Captain Elias Trent sent the file to the Zarketh fleet. No threats, no demands. Just the memory of Earth's blood and fire. Inside the command ship Blood Empire, Admiral Thalak watched the footage. He saw trenches filled with gas and fire, tanks rolling over bodies, cities melting in mushroom clouds, men fighting with knives when bullets ran out, soldiers crying, but still fighting. Zarketh officers stared in silence. This was not victory. This was madness turned into strategy. "They fight like they're already dead," one Zarketh whispered. "No," Thalak said. "They fight like death means nothing to them." In the past, alien races had laughed at humans, so divided, so emotional, so small. But humans had turned every mistake into a lesson, every war into preparation, every loss into a darker strength. Now the galaxy was seeing it. Earth did not build weapons just for defense. It built them because it remembered. At the edge of the system, the silent armada began to shift. New warships uncloaked, ships that had been hiding inside asteroids, solar storms, and empty voids, each one powered by reactors older than the Zarketh Empire itself, each one named after an Earth tragedy. Hiroshima's ghost, Stalingrad reborn, the Black Plague, Crucible of Fire. Their message was clear. "We have suffered, we have endured. Now you will understand why Earth fears no one." The Zarketh scrambled to respond. They powered shields, charged weapons, called for reinforcements, but their empire was already shaking. Back on Zarketh Prime, fear spread faster than any broadcast. "What if Earth is the darkness beyond the stars?" some leaders whispered. "What if it was never lost, only waiting?" "Captain," Elias stood before his crew, "we won't attack first, not yet. They must live with this fear. Let them understand. Our silence is more dangerous than their screams." In the black between stars, one final message pulsed from Earth to the Zarketh network. "We do not want war. But if you bring it, we will end it the way we always have. Completely." And as the stars turned cold, the galaxy began to remember a name long buried in myths: humanity. The Zarketh Empire had never lost a war. Until now, it had never known what fear tasted like. But after the message from Earth, something changed. It wasn't just the human warships. It wasn't the silence from Earth's command. It was the feeling, the deep, crawling fear that Earth was something ancient and unbreakable. On the bridge of the Zarketh flagship Blood Empire, Admiral Thalak stood frozen. Every screen around him showed images of the human fleet. They had not fired a shot, but the fear was spreading. "What are they waiting for?" one officer asked. "They want us to break first," Thalak answered, "and we are." Back on Zarketh Prime, riots had begun. Civilians demanded answers. Soldiers hesitated to follow orders. The Emperor's voice, a loud AI system that spoke orders to the people, started to glitch. For the first time, Zarketh citizens asked a question no one had ever dared. Are we truly the strongest? In Sector 12, the Empire's outer fleets stopped responding. A human message had arrived, just 5 words: "You forgot who we are. No threats, no location, no target." Yet the ships simply vanished. Inside the Empire's War Council chamber, panic took hold. "We must strike Earth now!" one commander yelled. "No!" shouted another. "If we fail, we will fall completely." "So what do we do?" the Emperor asked quietly. The Council had no answer, because they all felt it. The Empire wasn't being destroyed by force. It was being torn apart by fear. Meanwhile, inside Earth's Shadow Command, Captain Elias Trent watched the Zarketh response. "They're breaking," he said. Commander Reyna Cole nodded. "Good. Let fear do what our weapons never had to." But one Zarketh fleet didn't break. The 7th Dread Wing, known as the Flame Talons, began moving toward Earth, led by General A. Koresh, a warlord who believed only in fire and blood. He didn't care about fear. He wanted revenge. "They showed us their past," Koresh said. "Now let us show them ours." 10 massive warships, each the size of cities, jumped toward the Sol system. Their weapons were hot. Their engines roared. Inside Earth's defense network, red lights flashed. Reyna Cole turned to Elias. "It's time." He gave a cold smile. "Let's remind them what real war looks like." The human defense grid activated. Old satellites, long thought dead, lit up with codes. Stealth drones hidden inside Mars' dust clouds woke up. Titan war platforms moved from Saturn's rings. The silent armada vanished from sight, again, and something deep beneath Earth's surface began to rise. As the 7th Dread Wing approached, they saw nothing. No ships, no weapons, just silence. "Is this a trick?" Koresh growled. But then, the stars blinked. A ripple moved through space, and from the dark came the Leviathan. A human warship, so massive it blocked an entire moon, rose from the shadow of Jupiter, engines burning with quiet fury, hull made from black alloys that absorbed light. "Target locked," the Leviathan's AI whispered. Koresh laughed. "Fire everything." But before his fleet could even launch a single shot, the Leviathan moved. One shot, one beam of white-blue fire, and one Zarketh warship turned into ashes, then another, and another. Inside Koresh's ship, alarms screamed. "They're tearing us apart! Shields are useless! It's like they know our every move!" Koresh watched as his fleet died in silence. He had never believed in fear. But now, he understood it. Earth wasn't defending itself. It was hunting. General Koresh stared at the screen. One by one, the ships of his 7th Dreadwing vanished. No explosions, no wreckage, just silence, as if space itself had erased them. His warship, Furyborn, floated alone. Sparks fell from the ceiling, fires burned behind him, but Koresh didn't move. He wasn't afraid of death, but he had never felt this kind of defeat. "What are they?" he whispered. A whisper answered, not from his crew, not from a speaker, from inside his mind. "We are the reminder. We are the answer you forgot." And then his ship cracked in half, without fire, without pain, just gone. Back on Earth, the Leviathan returned to its silent orbit near Jupiter. Its weapons cooled. Its hull gleamed. It hadn't spoken a word. It didn't need to. The message was clear. In Zarketh Prime, news of Koresh's death shook the Empire harder than any battle. He had been their strongest, their unbreakable. Now he was dust among stars. Riots turned into rebellion. Soldiers refused orders. Some fleets surrendered without a fight. The Emperor sat alone on his throne, silent, watching the empire he ruled begin to rot from the inside. "We made a mistake," he whispered. "We should have left Earth alone." On Earth, Captain Elias and Commander Reyna stood before the Global Defense Council. Around them were screens showing surrender signals. Zarketh colonies were sending peace messages. Other alien empires had already started pulling back their fleets. The galaxy had watched, and now it trembled. One council member leaned forward. "Shall we accept peace?" Elias paused. "No, not yet." Reyna nodded. "They haven't learned." "Enough!" Project Echo was activated. Across the galaxy, old Earth satellites reawakened. Each one began to broadcast a single message, a recording. It showed the old Earth wars, the weapons that split planets, the AI gods that went rogue, the underground, vaults filled with weapons humans had never used. It showed Earth not as it was now, but what it had been. A world that had burned and survived, a species that had clawed its way through death and smiled. Alien leaders watched the video with wide eyes. One by one, they realized the truth. Earth didn't conquer because it was greedy. Earth withdrew from the galaxy because it was too dangerous to stay. By the time the video ended, silence fell across every galactic government chamber. One elder whispered what all of them were thinking. Humanity was never asleep. They were waiting. The Empire tried to stop the panic. They shut down news. They blamed rogue fleets. But the people had already seen it. The fear had spread too far, too deep. The empire that had ruled the galaxy for 9,000 years was crumbling, not by fire, not by battle, but by the return of something older, something they had buried. Earth's truth, only ashes remain. A cold silence had taken over the galaxy. Trade routes were abandoned. Fleets stood still. Even the pirate clans hid in empty asteroid belts. Something had changed, and everyone knew what caused it. Earth's message. It wasn't just a video. It was a warning. A quiet threat wrapped in history. A mirror showing what humanity had survived, and what they were still capable of. On the ruined world of Traskin, a group of alien scientists studied the old human probe they had shot down weeks ago. They had expected parts, maybe data. Instead, they found a living AI core. It reactivated and spoke. "Do not fear extinction. Fear being remembered by us." Then it melted their minds, without touching them. Back on the Leviathan, Captain Elias stood in front of a galaxy-wide comms array. Behind him, Reyna adjusted the control panel, all systems green. "Are you sure?" she asked. Elias nodded. They must hear it. All of them. No more shadows. No more guessing. He pressed the button, and Earth spoke again. "To those who watched and waited, to those who ruled and forgot us, you feared nothing, but you forgot what fear really is." The message showed Earth's great silence, the time when all nations had disappeared underground, when cities were covered with stone, when satellites went dead. Then it revealed the reason: not war, not sickness, but choice. Humanity had vanished from the galaxy because they had learned something terrifying. Peace was too dangerous. The galaxy had grown soft, but Earth had grown sharp in the dark. We did not disappear. We evolved in silence. We burned in our own storms. And now we return, not to rule, but to remind you that death comes with a human face. Billions. Watch the broadcast. Emperors, rebels, scientists, soldiers. Many tried to shut it off. They couldn't. It played on every screen, every station, every channel. Then it ended with a single image: a child on Earth standing in front of a destroyed city, holding a torch made of star metal. Behind him, the Earth fleet rose into the sky. The stars went dark for a moment, as if the galaxy itself held its breath. In the high court of the Zarketh Empire, the Emperor shouted, "Who gave them the right?" A whisper came from his own guards. "We did. When we attacked them. When we forgot." The Emperor turned and saw fear. On every face around him, the fear was spreading, not just of war, but of what might come next, because the message had ended with coordinates. Coordinates pointing to a star system no one dared enter, Zarketh Prime. Earth wasn't waiting anymore. The final war was about to begin, but not with armies, with judgment. The stars were silent. But every eye in the galaxy watched. A fleet, dark as space itself, moved toward Zarketh Prime, the seat of the ancient empire. They had ruled for 10,000 years. They feared nothing, until now. Captain Elias stood on the bridge of the warship, Oblivion's wake. He looked out at the glowing planet, Zarketh's proud capital world. A voice came from behind, Reyna. "They've powered up all defenses, planetary shields, plasma cannons, anti-fleet mines." Elias: "Good." Reyna blinked. "Good?" Elias nodded slowly. "Let them try everything. Today, we don't fight with weapons. We fight with truth." The Oblivion's wake did not fire. Instead, it broadcasted, not words, not threats, but memories, the kind buried deep in humanity's bones. Billions of aliens across the stars saw visions they didn't understand. Cities burning, but not from war. Mothers shielding children from nuclear winds, human soldiers laughing in mud, singing in fire, dying and getting up again. Then, silence. Cold. Endless. Earth alone. And yet, Earth survived. In Zarketh's throne room, Emperor Kalev dropped his golden staff. This is not a fleet. This is a mirror." A young Zarketh general stepped forward. "We cannot win against ghosts." Then came the final image, a gift, a single pod launched from the human fleet, landing softly outside the Zarketh palace. Inside? Small seed, human DNA, soil, instructions in every alien language, a message etched on metal. "We came to remind you. We leave to give you one last chance. Learn, adapt, survive, or be remembered only in our shadow." The fleet turned around. No shots fired, no worlds destroyed, but the galaxy changed forever, because fear did not come from death. It came from knowing what humanity chose not to do. Years later, the empire dissolved. New systems rose, and across the stars, children were told the same bedtime story. They ruled the galaxy without fear, until humanity taught them terror, and then left a gift. And somewhere, beyond the edge of the galaxy, humanity watched, waiting, just in case. The galaxy forgot again.